Welcome everyone, thanks for coming on a hot summer day. Look at every face in the room. Nice to see everybody. Okay, so practice. Before we begin today, tonight's a special class. I was really interested to see the heads on the bodies in the room, so I'm very grateful that you came tonight. And I hope I can do the subject matter justice, and I hope something perceptually changes in your heart tonight. So to start that, whatever was going on with you before this moment, forget it. No, really, it's not necessary, and it can't help you now. And in the next 2 hours, if it keeps knocking at the door, tell it to piss off. It doesn't need to be here. You don't need it in your head. See if you can have an awareness that's more expansive than whatever limited perceptions we build ourselves up to this point. I'm going to try and do the same. So the subject matter tonight is warrants that kind of concentration and openness. So to start, we find some kind of an energy inside of you that asks with all your understanding and might that learning can occur inside the core of your very being tonight. So we traditionally, the blah blah we do to generate that is this offering of the mandala, and then we do this thing called take refuge. So if you don't know the stuff, it's okay. You have to just generate an emotion in your heart that whatever turns on learning for you in the deeper sense can come now. Yeah. So. Sanghe Shindu Nite Vargi Rokun Nanda Shinla Chuparsho Iyam Guru Ratnamandala Niyatayami Shiram Saki Choknama Janchu Vardu Dakni Katsuchi Daki Jinye Gipe Sonangi Rola Kanchir Sange Druparsho Chudam Saki Choknama Janchu Vardu Dakni Katsuchi Daki Jinyen Gipe Sonangi Rola Kanchir Sange Druparsho Chudam Soki Choknama Janchu Vardu Dakni Katsuchi Daki Jinyen Gipe Sonangi Rola Kanchir Sange Druparsho. So maintaining as much of that motivation in your heart, take a comfortable seated position. We'll do a short meditation to get our minds in place. Just do a quick check of your posture. Make sure that from the base all the way up your spine, your torso, your shoulders. You've removed any tension physically. All the way up to the tip of your head. Imagine you're being pulled up there by a string at the crown of your head, pulling you up. And that gravity is keeping you firm on the ground as well. So you have both a pull up and a push down. That sets you locked in position. One final check to remove any tension, specifically around your eyebrows, your eyes, corners of your lips. Once you've checked your physical body, begin to focus in your mental part, your mind. Just see where that's at. What does it want to show you? Where does it want to go? Begin to rein it in by being aware of the movement of your chest with your breath. Just be aware of how your body is matching the breath. Now press your mind tightly against the breath and follow it as it enters and exits your body through your nostril. You can follow it all the way into your lungs and all the way out as far as it goes, and then back in. Just follow the breath. At some point you begin to feel a sense of relaxation, but also a kind of rising up. Now begin to tighten that focus and press your mind tightly against the sensation of the breath as it enters and exits the tip of your nostril. See if you can feel the temperature difference. On the exhale, it should be a little warmer, and on the inhale, a little cooler. Just place your mind there, following it. If the mind wants to get distracted, just gently bring it back. See if you can lose yourself in the sensation. That's what it means to press your mind against the breath. And at some point, call in front of you your heart teacher, the being you most revere, whether imaginary or real. And as soon as you conjure them up, they appear very vividly in front of you. If you're not a visual person, see if you can kinetically feel them sitting in front of you, just you and them. And with equal concentration as you just had on your breath, be aware of their presence in front of you and make them as radiant and as vivid and as personal as you can possibly imagine. Start by recalling and then become present. It helps to look at their outline and eventually focus on their eyes. Observe their movement of their chest. They are mirroring your breath. It's a perfect mirror of how you feel the sensation of breath. Every subtle movement inside of you is felt inside of them. They know you like no other being knows you. And so open up to them and think of the highest quality they possess. What is it about them that you revere? And see if you can generate a sense of awe and reverence. And with that, make them an offering. It should be an impulse to want to show them or give them anything of beauty you have seen or felt or thought. Watch them accept it. Maybe you don't even have to give them anything. They recognize it as soon as your motivation rises. And now go digging to what's deepest in your conscience, the thing that stops you from moving forward or progressing in your path. This is some negativity that keeps reoccurring in your life. Recognize that it's inside of you somehow, but that it is changing, and it is possible to remove it if you recognize it. Find in your mind where you've created the causes for that condition. If it's anger, where have you been angry? If it's jealousy, where have you been jealous? Open your mind to your teacher. Make some kind of commitment with them that you'll make efforts to stop that cycle. Specifically about the thing that stops you most. Make sincere efforts. And allow yourself to imagine what it would feel like to not have that obstacle anymore. And when you imagine that, feel some kind of dislodgement happening. It's no longer going to have a hold on you if you work through it. Feels freeing. Then search your data bank of or experience and thought, and find the kindest, most beautiful energy inside of you. The thing that others see and you get a glimpse at every now and then, that is just beautiful about who you are. Don't resist it, just be happy that you have that capacity. Maybe it's your kindness, maybe it's your diligence, maybe it's your patience. Feel what it's like to be that. And imagine how it serves others in your world. Feel joy for having the capacity to do that in your world. And then think of all the other beautiful beings that you know that also have some loveliness about them. They are kind or patient. They are sitting in this room with you. These are your friends. These are your friends in this special quest. See if you can think of the most beautiful thing about them and be happy that they have that capacity and how they impact their world. And ask your teacher, please, to always stay close. Every second, every millisecond of your experience in this realm, may they appear when things are amazing. May they show you how they came to be amazing. When things are tough, when things hurt, may they also reveal how those things have come to be. And show you the way to freedom from those things. Just ask them sincerely from your heart about being radiant in front of you. And watch and feel how they want nothing more than that. For you, it's a special kind of unconditional love for you. So ask them to please always stay. For as long as space remains. And as you ask them that, watch them as they rise up. Turn to face the same direction you're facing and begin to get smaller and brighter. A condensed version of what you just imagined, what you just experienced. Until they rest just an inch or so above the crown of your head. Powerful there, potent. Every quality that you need. Looking out for you. When you're ready, you can be aware of your space here in the room, but try and keep as much of what you felt just now in the meditation in your heart. Dhammapada Sutra, course 6, class 6 and 7. You guys must be super advanced and I must be crazy. But usually I do a review of what we covered so far. I'm only going to do that very quickly today, okay, because there's so much content. Today's topic is on the direct perception of emptiness. And for many of us, it's words that we've heard. Oh, lights.
Lights.
Camera. That's better. Yeah. Feel a little bit more enlightened?
Yes.
That was good.
Thank you.
Usually I do a quick review of the real content you're going to have in the final exam. I'm going to do that next class. Just very briefly, I'm going to see if you remember the beginning of the Dhammapada Sutra. It's a Prajnaparamita Sutra. It's the perfection of wisdom. It's the Buddha's words. And it is the highest of the highest of the highest teachings, and the open teachings that you can have. And it really digs deep into the nature of existence and rips it apart. By this stage, people have learned many of the basics of Buddhist practice. So I'm going to ask you to listen with an awareness. If you have not had a whole bunch of of teachings before this one, and you're in the room, then you're in the room for a special reason, I don't know. So don't freak out when we start deconstructing reality. If you have been in classes and you have listened to the Dharma and you listen to the Buddhist teachings over and over and over, there is no teaching over here that's coming out over there to you and giving you specific instruction from its own side. So if you've heard the teachings before and you're that close to getting a realization of some of the aspects of the teaching, listen with an open heart, because it's available to you if you make room for it. There's nothing I'm going to say that will make you do something. It's in there, coming this way. So like you did in meditation and you focused on a negativity to purify it or a positivity to expand it, like that, see if you can energetically sit in this class today with your highest knowledge, intellectual understanding of how things are, and open up and sit in that karmic pool, if you will, to really get something. And it's not a tightening, it's a relaxation. Yeah? It's not like, I want to see this. It's like seeing this. Yeah? It's like seeing this. And then you get to see this. So, the sutra opens up with the Buddha going out, getting his begging bowl, going out to the city of Shavasana. Yeah, and back, sitting down after they ate. And then he goes into a state of meditation, so it already gives you a hint that he's in a special space. His mind is seeing something different. And Subhuti, who's the one that asks most of the questions, but he's thought to be a special being because he asks just the right questions that everybody needs to hear. Asks this idea of bodhisattvas, this idea of a being who has become a bodhisattva. How should they think? How should they act? How should they live? How should they hold their thoughts? What should they do all the time? If you have, and a bodhisattva is someone who has a deep wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of themselves and others, right? If you are such a noble being, what should they do? And you remember that? And the Buddha's answer is, you remember the answer? He said you should think of every living being, and he begins listing every one of the living beings that are being born from egg and from the womb and with consciousness and subtle consciousness. And he divides them in this way and that way and that way, and he goes, them beings, all of them, they are innumerable. They are so many. And then he talks about the different realms of existence. This, the desire realm, and the form realm, and the formless realm. chock-a-block full of beings, all trapped in cycles like we are. He says, you should think of all of them if you want to be this bodhisattva. How should you think and act? You should think of all those beings and you should say, I'm going to take all of them to nirvana. I'm taking them all to be free from that suffering. And then it says, and if you've thought of these beings and you've taken them to nirvana, if you do this, no one will ever get to nirvana. No one will get to nirvana. There will be nobody that got to nirvana. No living being in nirvana. So it's already, what the hell are you talking about? So for those of you who understand already the nature of that comment, give me an insight into what you remember that comment means.
That there was never a separate person out there, self-existent, separate from himself, that would take that. One is one with all beings. Does that make sense?
Made a little sense, yeah. I just want to see if I want to hear you say it.
If you're still, if you're still in a state where you see yourself as separate from other beings, you're not going to be able to take anyone to nirvana. Or
in what way separate to other beings?
So, then self-existent too.
If you think there are beings out there separate to you perceiving them as living beings, no one's getting to nirvana. If you think there's a nirvana out there separate to your projection of nirvana, you're not getting anyone to nirvana. No one like that gets to nirvana. That's what it's saying. And so that brings, we talked a little bit about the four schools of Eastern philosophy that say, what are these key concepts of Buddhist practice, which is what's emptiness mean for the four schools of ancient India, and what's dependent origination. Why are things things? How do they come to be? And so there's four schools of thought that say they are dependently arising, the Buddha said, right? And Buddhists say, well, what the hell is dependently arising? And so these four schools of thought evolved because the Buddha taught all four for people with different capacity to understand reality at whatever level you're at. And the first and the most basic level is the Abhidharmas that say no, what's the thing they deny? What's the dust and what's dependent origination for the Abhidharmas, the functionals? What does no self mean? The duck, remember the thing they denied? What does that mean for an Abhidharmist?
In this case, it's the self that's not caused.
Excellent, yeah. So something that's not caused, doesn't have causes and conditions. Nearly Q, which is the principal cause, and then the conditions, right? In other words, there could never possibly be a tree that came without the cause, the seed, and the conditions, water, and so on. There could never be a flower without the earth and the sunshine and the water and so on. Yeah, that's it. So dependent, the flower is arising in dependence to the seed and the plant and the, that's what it means in that philosophy. That's good, that works, that's true. Yeah. That's how we make pens. That's how we make objects in the West. We're like, things are dependently arising, depending on their causes and conditions. I'll find enough of this and that, put it together, and you get a MacBook Pro. It's not as good as mine, but you get. So I had to do a bunch of Then the next level of understanding how things come to be dependently arise. They arise in dependence on parts. So the idea that things are dependent on their causes and conditions is true, but then in debate, a whole bunch of the early masters said, hold on a second, what about things that are caused, like space, for example? This location in space. That's a thing. So that's got no principal cause and conditions and so on. So they said, well, and things are dependent on their parts. So dependent origination means there's a top part of the space and the bottom part of the space, and you can say there's space. That's all it means. And it also encompasses that. That's true as well. There's the top of the flower, the petals, and the stem. That makes sense. It's a little bit more inclusive than the previous explanation. Yeah? This is the mind only is next, is that right? The third one? Yeah. Which say
It is a mental projection.
Madhyamika Prasangika is the third way. Which is
A mental
mental
projection
projection.
forced upon us by
By our custom. So things arise in dependence on you perceiving them that way. Your mind grabbing that data and labeling it a thing. And that's what we're going to cover tonight in detail. And the way we get there,
That was the fourth way.
that's well, there's three ways of dependent origination. There's four schools.
Okay.
The Abhidharmists and the Sutrists think causes and condition. Then which Sutrists are the logic or the Tantric. And then the Madhyamika, or the mind only, the first of the middle way, the mind only, is the same as that, causes and condition. Then you get the two Madhyamika schools, the two highest Madhyamika schools, Prasangika and the other one, Chitta Mantra. And the Chitta Mantra say parts, and the Prasangika say on your perception. And your perception also covers the parts and also covers the thing. So it makes sense? It's more inclusive, and it's a complete different way of looking at it. So you don't need to know these things. You don't need to know all the different levels of schools. If you've landed here today and you're getting to hear the idea that things arise in dependence on your projection. A, because you're here, and B, because we are in time in the world where cognitive psychology has a limited version of this, where you say that you get the idea, you get a whole search in science on quantum physics that looks at causation and how things come to be, and there's already this idea about projections emerging in our world. So we can begin to look at some of those, and I think people in the West are ready for the highest school. Yeah, we're here for a reason. So I'm going to toggle a little bit between here and there. So we sidetracked. Yeah, I jumped from the beginning of the sutra. We went all the way past as we got more and more subtle into this idea of ultimate nature of things, as the Buddha was beginning to place Subhuti's mind on the perfection of wisdom, as he asked him, I don't know if you remember, he asked him, if Bodhisattva's, and then the Buddha started saying, yeah, you grab all these beings, they're all hurting, you make it your goal to take them to nirvana, and when you get there, nobody gets it. It's like, what the hell? And so already mind's opened up, we'll explain, and then you get a deeper sense of dependent origination and emptiness. And then he goes, just like that, they start this dialogue, and Subhuti goes, well, this is such a great and interesting insight into reality. In the future, in the day of the last 500s, when we're getting close to the death of this kind of knowledge, will there be beings who understand this? Will there be bodhisattvas who understand how this universe functions this way? And what was the Buddha's answer?
Yes,
Yes, there will be. And then we learned, remember about the 10 cycles of 500, there was a sutra that predicted that 2,500 years after the Buddha passed, the Dharma will leave. This Dharma, which are two types of Dharma, this is a quick test. That when they talk about Dharma here, we're talking about the written books, the Dharma, remember, and the realizations you have. And when these die out in the world, one will die out first. Which one will die out first?
The realization.
The realizations, and then we'll be like monkeys looking at these things, going, "Oh, okay, Brian, this is a word here. It's a very nice word, but we don't know what it means, and we don't have a realization about this." And so that will die first. they say. And then people will keep books in the library, and this is a nice ancient sutra, but nobody has a clue what it means or how to turn it on. And we are well advanced on this path according to all the different explanations that the Buddha said that Dharma will die in India at this stage, and at this date, and at that date, depending on who he was talking to. But then the commentary that we're reading is saying it'll be 2,500 years after the Buddha passes, the Dharma will go into the land of the ready, rosy-cheeked people, that's you guys, and then it will stay there for another 2,500 years before it begins to dissipate in the form of realizations, and then just the books remain, and then at the 10th level it will be called the shadow of itself or something. It's just be a shadow. So he's explaining if this is going to die out. First he says to Subhuti, you're asking a stupid question, because what Dharma is there separate to the one that is dependently arising on your projections? That there's something forcing you, Subhuti, and there will be something forcing Bodhisattva Subhuti to hear words and to see things and have realizations. There will be great Bodhisattvas at that time, the Buddha says, who can get these things and their worlds turn on. They remove the veil of illusion of this thing we call cyclic existence.
Well, I just wanted to say in the beginning when he mentions that, first you should see all these, beings, and then you should want to bring them. That's like sort of pointing out the two wings. We need compassion and wisdom, and the first wing is wanting to notice all these beings that they're suffering and want to bring them to nirvana. And the second wing is realizing the ultimate. So when he says first you have to see all these beings and want to bring them, and then once you bring them to the nirvana, you bring no one. So that's the wisdom.
That's the wisdom
part.
side, exactly.
So it's like in a very deep poetic way. He said, well, you need compassion
and wisdom. Beautiful. Correct. We talked about that. At this part of the sutra, the Buddha then asks, so now we're going to start class 6, yeah? At this part of the sutra, the Buddha asks Subhuti, just like when you thought, is there such a nirvana? No. Will you take such people? Not the way you're thinking about it. Then he says, if you see a Buddha, will you look at a being that has these markings of a Buddha and say, is there really a Buddha? If you think that there's really a Buddha out there, separate to you perceiving it as a Buddha, then there's no Buddha. Yeah? So there's no markings that can say, I am a Buddha, from their own side. So it begins to say this and that and that. We talked about the 4 bodies of the Buddha, etc. And at this point, the Buddha continues to ask more and more subtle questions, and he says, O Subhuti, what do you think? Do those who have entered the stream ever think to themselves, now I have attained the goal of entering the stream? So we're going to find out what entering the stream means. And what do you think Subhuti's answer is?
No.
It's again, not if you think there's something out there separate from your perception, which is the 4th of the 4 schools. The highest of the 4 schools. View on what dependent origination is. What is all this stuff that is occurring to you, both physical stuff, emotional stuff, sounds, all the stuff you're perceiving, that's all dependently arising. That's all coming to you. It's arising. You get an awareness of this stuff. There is a table here. Where does this come from? How is it that we experience things this way? And I'm going to use the word see as a synonym for experience. See doesn't just mean this when I'm talking about see today. Okay? And that's a problem that we have when we say see emptiness directly. You have a direct, you don't see anything. You have a direct awareness. So think this way when I say the word see. I'll try and catch myself. So the Buddha is asking, what about this thing called stream enterers? Yeah? When a stream enterer, when someone enters the stream, do they think to themselves, wow, I've entered the stream? So Subhuti says no. So we're going to find out what stream enterer is. First of all, stream enterer is entering the path of seeing. So for those of you who have studied before, what are the 5 paths in the path of seeing? What's the first path?
Accumulation.
This is the 5 steps or the conveyor belt that gets you from schmuck to ultimate liberated being who's worked up. Yeah, a Buddha to work up.
Wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
I didn't sleep.
No problem. So, the beautiful thing about the Buddhist tradition, which comes directly from the Indian tradition, is it's laid out to you in numbering form, step by step, just perfectly and beautiful. You follow the steps and you'll get there. So the first of the steps we'll talk about in a second, but just quickly, what are they? The path of accumulation. What does that mean to you?
Accumulating merit.
Accumulating merit, meaning there's enough pool of some kind of goodness inside of you that it propels you onto the second path, which is the path of preparation, where you begin to investigate the ultimate nature of existence. And if you're fortunate enough, you bump into things that inform you how existence occurs. It might be a YouTube video, it might be a class at the 3 Jewels that you begin to bump in and investigate and dig into. So in my mind, you guys and me and the group of people who are interested in this kind of stuff on planet Earth in 2013 already have some and enough of this pool of virtue to say, what the hell is going on this planet? Why is it so? Let me know. And drive to knowing. There's enough driving there, there's enough fuel in there already for that. Second part is part of preparation, right? Yeah? You're preparing for something. You're preparing for path number 3, which is to be a stream enterer. And to be a stream enterer, you have this direct experience of emptiness, the ultimate nature of all things. So this is a mysterious word, emptiness, it's a mysterious word, a direct perception. I see emptiness directly is what people say. When you have had that experience, you become a stream enterer. Why a stream enterer? So stream enterer is, there are 2 kinds of beings in the entire universe in existence. A soso kewa, so say soso, kewa, and a pakpa. 2 kinds of beings. Yeah, if you could divide the entire universe of all time and all the minds chock-a-block in this universe, you can divide them into 2 kinds of beings. Soso kewa, which is exactly what it sounds. What's soso kewa sound like? It's a little so-so, right? Ordinary beings. Yeah? It's a little so-so. So an ordinary being. And a patpa is an arya, or a realized being. And the thing that divides these 2 kinds of creatures is this moment of experiencing emptiness directly. Yeah? The ultimate nature of reality. And tonight's class is about what must you do to get that experience? What are the prerequisites? What are the conditions? What are the things you must do and not do? And then how does it happen? The milliseconds before it happens and immediately after it happens, and then what happens in the 4th part, which is after you've had that experience. So you've accumulated enough goodness in you to begin to investigate and prepare to see the ultimate nature of things. So you're studying and understanding, and it could be all sorts of things. But something is forcing you to see the ultimate nature of things. You've got these prerequisites, which I'll talk about tonight, and then you have the 3rd path, which is the path of seeing, where you see emptiness directly. Then after that, it's not like the show's over and you're a Buddha. You're not a Buddha at that point. You have to go through the path of habituation, where a certain bunch of things need to happen, and I'll talk about them in the second part of the class. And then the 5th path is not really a path, it's a destination. It's the path of no more learning, and that's you're either an enlightened being, either in nirvana or a Buddha, assuming you've entered the bodhisattva track, which I'm going to assume that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
I'm sorry, 5th is what you call it?
No more learning, meaning
It's finished.
complete. Any questions before I go? 3, 2, 1. So, These words I've heard from Geshe Michael Roach in 1997. There are three prerequisites, and this makes sense. The first prerequisite is you must have renunciation in your heart. It's the first of the three principal parts. You know, usually I tell you things the way I'm supposed to tell you. I try and be guarded and not to scare anybody from the essence of the teaching, so people don't freak out and feel some kind of terrible sadness or anything like that. But tonight I'm going to try to just put a really, you know, it's not that I haven't been telling you what I really think. I've been avoiding making you see what I mean. So the first thing is renunciation, and we'll talk about that in a second. The next part, so these are three prerequisites before having that ultimate experience, that peak experience that differentiates you from all other beings. The first one is renunciation, and what that means. It's a thing called leaving the world. The next part is you need to have an intellectual understanding of ultimate reality. Really study classroom hours, intellectual thinking and processing of what is emptiness, and in particular this subject tonight called Chi Shedra. Yeah? Chi Shedra. This is the key to understanding why the fourth school has this view about dependent origination, meaning it's a projection. And that sits in the second school, it's in the Svatantrika school. It's a subject underneath Pramana, which is about valid perception, how cognition occurs. This is the second school, it's Abhidharmas, Svatantrikas. Inside there, they describe Pramana. It's considered a lower school, but Jason Kappa's student Kedrija said, if you want to understand emptiness and you don't study Chi Shedra, he said it's like saying you are starving, hungry, but you don't like food. And then he goes on to say it's like wanting to build a house and buying bubbles as material for the foundation. So it's a very key subject, and it's hard. Yeah, and I don't know all the answers. I'm going to give you the best I can. I got a beautiful download from my holy teacher, and I hope that if you remain open, you can put these words into the space in your heart that looks at reality and wonders what the hell's going on really. Yeah? So I'm going to do my best. That's the second of the three prerequisites. First, you need this renunciation. What is this? I'll talk about it. Second, you need to understand what is ultimate reality, intellectually investigate, and in particular this thing called Chi Shedra, yeah? Which it's an investigation on perception. Third, and a must prerequisite is you must be meditating on a regular basis, not once a year, not once there. And they say it's about an hour a day, not all at once. I'll talk about that prerequisite as well. But without your mind's capacity to remove itself from all the noise and instant things that are occurring, you cannot get subtle enough. When the time comes, when you build up enough virtue to produce a result of having an ultimate experience, you will not have enough concentration to hold on to that and experience it for what it is. Yeah? It's impossible without a deep level of concentration. So I'll talk about that. And that, quick aside, in order to have good, stable meditation practice, you have to have some kindness going on every day in your mind. You must be looking at this world with building up small, tiny acts of kindness that are mental, verbal, and physical. Your heart needs to be open. And this is not like do a 108 days project, go to Nepal, and it's not like that. It is you're at the bank and someone's stressing out, and nobody needs to know you're doing something, but maybe you move out of line so they can move a step forward, and you know these are tiny acts of kindness, everyday, random, perfectly placed, with good understanding acts of kindness. That's the thing that will get you to meditate, that to give you the freedom to meditate. These acts of kindness, this love in your heart. And that's what Geshe-la said. And then this is the third, right, prerequisite. So first, renunciation. Second, an understanding of emptiness and how we mental image things, this pramana understanding, Shisha. And then meditation imbued with kindness, just kindness. You must also have a teacher. If you have any prerequisite, you must also have somebody that can teach you once you understand the basics. And this does not have to be a dude or a nun or in a red dress. It doesn't have to be an elder. Once you get it, once you understand that the world is coming from you, the dog can be your highest teacher. Yeah? And you have them in your heart. That you must at all costs find them. Whoever they are, and you know when you meet them that it was like a glove that fits perfectly, there's no sensation that you were ever separate. There's somebody on the planet with your name on it, and you need to find them. And then with those things, under the influence of those things, then it's possible to break through the veil of illusion and see the way things truly are. And then it's not over. It's not like, oh great, I want to get out of samsara. I'll just do these things and now I'm okay. It's not like that. You have to work. It is a pool of energy that we've been cycling in for innumerable time. Life after life after life. It's so deeply ingrained in the seeds of our subconscious, Western time, in the pool of karma. It's so inside us that you need some kind of tremendous energy to exit out. And then when you're exiting, it's so. If you're close, it is said it's so simple. It was never there, like that. But you got to get there. Yeah, with this license. So let me just first talk about renunciation. Say Nyenjung. Is that Nyenjung? Nyenjung. Yeah, there's two types of Nyenjung. Nyenjung refers to renunciation. What happens if you get true, real renunciation? What of the 5 paths do you enter? Accumulation. Yeah, it's actually the entry point to the path of accumulation. It's the first path. So if you get Nyenjung, Nyenjung means definitely come out. Definitely come out. There's two meanings. The first one is definitely come out of suffering. That's not the meaning we're going to talk about today. But the next meaning means is Raptu Jungwa. Say Raptu Jungwa. And that means really left. And that means left the home life. What does leave the home life mean? So remember, this is first prerequisite for having an ultimate experience of reality. What does really left the home life mean?
You left your country, your family, you don't have to be bothered by the ego. deserves.
Okay, that's one interpretation.
So the spiritual practice or right things are considered wrong.
You are no longer predominantly concerned with worldly affairs. Yeah? This is a prerequisite. You can't have an experience of the ultimate nature of how things truly are if you're busy in your mind with the home life or with worldly life. Or where am I going to get the new pair of shoes? And did you hear about such and such on TV? And if your mind is preoccupied, I'm going to get a career, and then in that career I'm going to be fantastic. And this is where I have to tell you honestly, all the activity we will ever do on this planet is doomed. Like, it'll be taken away. I had a visit recently from an ex-boss of mine who's still in the same company after 14 years. We don't even remember what we did together 14 years ago. That's all finished. Wasted energy. I took the money, I bought the house, you know. But all that activity, all the stress, all the people that got fired, all the people that got pressures about their perfect business plan and whatever, it's finished. It's finished. And that's if you don't include the reality of old age, sickness and death. That's everything you've ever worked in the worldly life will be gone. If you think about it really, without some kind of fear, you think about the final hours of your life on this planet, you think about your death. Think about what it would be like to die. Think about it. Without fear, everything you have to let go. Your name has to go. Your face is gone. If there's something about, if you think of dying, and imagine everything goes. The house goes, the career goes, the fame goes, the outworldly concerns go. What burden that is off your shoulders. Like, if you look at it without being fearful. I have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about losing weight. I mean, I'm not idealizing death, but I'm just saying at some point, everything you've worked for will go. It is the nature of the worldly life. Everything. Does that mean you shouldn't do anything? No. If you've landed yourself on the part of the planet with capacity and skill and ability and in serving others, use it beautifully. But that should not be your main concern. Your heart and your mind should be in this other realm. You should have left the I need to get status and I need to get a job right there, pay, and I need a better relationship and I need a new car and I need a new laptop and I need a new this and a new that. That's what it means. That's the prerequisite for this. Your mind should be predominantly sitting on this investigation of what's happening really in this experience of the universe that I'm in. So then, imagine that you've got that. Yeah, that's a big hurdle. Imagine that whatever that works for you. For me, it was hard. Like, I heard these words in the 90s, in the late 90s, and I didn't want to give it up. I wanted a career, and I wanted sex, and I wanted a car, and I wanted all these things. How do you do it? How do you do it? You either have a tragedy that forces you to do it early. Something terrible happens and you wake up and go, oh my God, all this is turning to shit anyway. And then you refocus your energies and you do the things that are really important to you. You do that. But your mind is invested in this freedom from suffering for you and for others. Predominantly your mind is sitting there. It's not in, I want new stuff. Yeah, it's not in there. So that's the first thing. It's really required. It's really a prerequisite. Is your mind day after day, hour after hour, as you do the stuff that is distracting you, really concerned on, can this shift to enlightenment? Can this free beings that are suffering? This thing that I'm doing, is there a way that I'm experiencing reality in which I can learn and therefore share how to be free from the cycles that are just blind to most of us? Prerequisite number one. So that's rub to job. The next path, so if you've gone past that big hurdle, right? Big hurdle, which is lead the home life. First prerequisite. You then have a second hurdle. Yeah, and these are doable. Yeah,
Is that the first part of renunciation, or is that the second part of renunciation?
It's actually, renunciation is when you do that intuitively, instinctively at every turn. You're not concerned about any kind of special benefit that I'm going to get a thing or a.
So this is the first step of renunciation, you say?
I'm trying to describe what renunciation would be like. You are no longer invested in any of this world. You're still doing it. I'm not saying you're not doing anything. I'm just calling that renunciation.
So this is renunciation. It's not a part of renunciation.
No, it's just there's two definitions to the word renunciation. Sorry, this was the second meaning of the word renunciation. So that would then take you into the path of, if you've got renunciation, you're in the first path, that would take you to
Accumulation.
preparation. Thank you. That was the path of accumulation. You have renunciation. You begin to accumulate goodness. Yeah.
So yin jung is a part of. I'm confused.
Correct.
Yin
Correct.
jung
The first
is renunciation.
the first path, the
Yeah.
path of accumulation is called soklam. Soklam. Yeah, that's not up there. And those two are words for renunciation, which is what you must have to enter the first path. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
We clear? Good. So then you enter Jorlam, which is the second path. You've got renunciation, you've got this where your mind is mostly invested in getting out of suffering. There's nothing here for you. That's what that means, first part. There's nothing here. You're not going to get free from suffering with the extra cash from the job or the extra relationship or a new car, a new identity. Or
Extra relationship.
Hmm?
Extra relationship.
extra relationship, if you want another extracurricular relationship. Yeah. So then you enter the path of preparation, and there's 4 stages in the path of preparation, and the 4th part is where Chishedra comes in.
So Jorlam means path of preparation.
Yeah, Jorlam means path of preparation, and Tsoklam, T-S-O-K, which is not up there, is the first path, the path of accumulation. That makes sense? Tsoklam.
Is this all new? The system is the same as the
Would be London. The steps to the path. Are we happy there?
Happy.
Yeah, okay. So what's the main essence of Jorlam? What's the main essence of the path of preparation? What are you preparing?
For this.
An intellectual understanding of ultimate reality. You're preparing to see emptiness directly. Right? See the theme there? So this is where you go into the second school and you dive into Brahmana and you look at Chishedra. So, what's in there? Jorlam.
I left out Chicha.
That's okay. So above those 4, if you write Chi and Jedra, J-E-R-D-A,
J-E-D.
yeah, J-E-D,
All right.
Jedrak. Chi, Jedrak. And that translates to quality, Chi, and characteristic, Jedrak.
Sorry. Say it again.
Chi,
Yeah.
quality. Jedra means characteristic. I'm going to give you a couple of synonyms for this. You can also call it general, chi, and specific Jedra. Okay? You'll get what I mean when I cover it. This is what I want to spend most of today on. It's hard for me to explain, and you really have to be paying attention because it unlocks why the fourth school is the fourth school. You should have an experience at the end of this class that something opened up and you understand why this whole system is talking about projections, dependent origination being projection. So excited. So there's 4 Chis. I'm going to tell you quickly the 4 Chis. So you understand that if you ever come across this word Chi in any of the Tibetan texts, it could be any one of these 4s. We're interested in one in particular, but I'm going to give you all 4. Okay? The first one is not that important, but you should know it. And Sok Chi, let's say Sok Chi. Sok Chi means collection quality. Yeah? So collection quality. Sok Chi, collection quality. All this means is that it's the whole, is the Chi part of Chi Kshetra. Are you with me so far? So there's 4 kinds of Chi. The first one is Sok Chi. Is that right? Yeah, Sok Chi. And this means it's the whole, and Jedra describes the part. So if you look at the clock, you will say that Chi is clock. Yeah? And Jedra is the circle around, the numbers, the flashing lights, the display, all the parts that make up, yeah, the whole. That's it. If you're looking at a body, let's try again. So Chi, Jedra is what we're learning. Yeah, understanding this unlocks the key to emptiness. There's 4 kinds of Chi. The first one we just covered. If we're looking at me as a Chi, Jedra, my body would be Chi, that's my body. And the arm would be a clock. Yeah, and the head would be a. Is that cool?
Yeah.
That's good. You passed the first test. Woo. Okay. If you're using a car, let's do it again. The whole thing would be a Chi. The wheel would be a. The chassis would be a. Good. Okay. Not very important. But you need to know. The next one, very important, Rikshi. Say Rikshi. Rikshi. This type of Chi is the Chi that unlocks the 4th school's understanding of why dependent origination means a thing arises independent of your labeling. In this case, we'll call this general. Okay? Yeah, general and specific. Let's call this Chi general and specific. And it's nothing to do with parts that we just talked about. When we're describing anything in the entire universe, a Rikchi describes the quality and the Jedra is a specific instance of that quality, followed on the clock. If you're looking at the clock, okay, listen to the words and answer me. Is that clock? Is that clock? Or is that a clock? Okay? When your eyes land on that thing, this is why it's a study of perception. When your eyes land on that object, does your mind say clock? Or does clock? Or does it say a clock? Is that a clock or clock? Or the clock? It's fine. A clock, the clock, it's fine. Is that the clock?
It's clock. It's clock.
So where's the clock?
Good. And clockness. I love it. Does that object have clockness in it?
The clockness monster.
As numbers.
What suggests to you clock?
Whole thing.
And don't give me an answer that you think we need here. Really look at that object and say, is that a clock? Is that a clock?
Yes.
Is that a clock? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Could you call it the clock? Oh, there's the clock.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it clock?
No.
Good. What's clock then? So in this case, Chi Chedra, Chi is clock, and Chedra would be a clock, the clock. Now you've got to find out what the hell is clock. Yeah? And just stay with me a second. Is it true that every being that is sitting here looks upon that object and we experience the clock? We call it the clock. Every being in here, every human in here, every one of you that you can validly agree is present.
But
It appears that way.
Somebody from the jungle.
Correct. The Svatantrika school here say something very interesting about Chi Chedra. The quality clock, the clockness of that object suggests to you clock in our conventional reality. Yes or no?
Yes.
We all say it was the clock. Yeah? Bottle. The bottle. What tells you that this is bottle? What is it that informs you visually that this is the bottle? A bottle.
It's a convention.
It's a convention, right? Because you said if a jungle guy came in here, they might not say the bottle, but it appears as something to them, and they will label it and call it something. Yeah? This is why the prerequisite of leaving the home life and meditating, being able to focus and concentrate on is so vital to having the direct experience of emptiness if you're under the influence of kindness. Okay? Because we don't think in these terms every day. So let's find out where clock comes from, or where bottle comes from when you look at this object. And the Svatantrika school says that an amazing thing happens in your mind. That when it looks at this object, your mind begins to look for every other thing that it's got in its bank of knowledge. In the West, we call it the subconscious mind of this time. In the Buddhist terms, you call it the entire collection of your karmic imprints, and it will match it up and go, banana, no, car, no, ex-wife, no, soap, no, bottle, ding, it's a bottle. In fact, this is what it says. A bottle is defined by the opposite of everything that's not a bottle. I think that's what it was. Let's have a look. In the Svatantrika school. Creates catalogs, quality and logistics. It was an awesome translation. The Svatantrika is defined as the opposite of all that is not bottle. This is what they say. According to the argument. So then you ask yourself, upon looking at these shapes and colors that you see as bottle, as the bottle, why, out of all the possible things that could have come up to your mind, bottle came up, and not banana, and not truck, and not so. Conventionally, we learned it. Yeah?
What is a convention? How is a convention established? What exactly is a convention?
We agree to follow.
How do we agree?
We've talked about it, we've learned it.
From who?
Yeah?
From everybody.
So,
And what if we all change our mind about it? It's no longer a
it's
bottle.
no longer a bottle, but that thing that we agree about is what it is.
That's a
And,
convention.
and that's a convention. For now, it's bottle. Yeah? This shapes and colors is bottle. And that shape and color is clock. And what they say is that, just stay with me for a second. Clockness or bottleness, out of all the possible things that appeared in your mind, appeared upon this object, bottleness. Yeah? And what does that look like? What does the bottle that you're looking at right now look like? Where is that? It's saying that your mind, based on the visual data, the eye cannot see bottle. The eye can see colors and shapes. The eye cannot label it, bottle. The mind labels it. The data, bottle. It's incapable of saying, I saw a bottle. Not possible. So something else is going on, and this is the slowing down. That's why meditation and concentration is important. Of at what point, based on the visual input for this case alone, did bottle come up? Yeah? So that was your mind grabbing that data and saying bottle. In the way Gish and Michael explained it, in the instance of clock and finding that clockness, your mind searched for everything that it had in its power and said, what looks like that stuff, what convention do I have? And it's clock. And it's usually one of the first instances of clock you've ever had, one of the first instances of bottle that you've had, and you begin to shape and mold that. In cognitive psychology, people are calling this schemers. There are 18 core schemers that we build frames of constructs around these emotive moments in our lives, and we begin to frame it. The example of that is, as a child, I was called you short, chubby bastard, so I was fat, and so every time from then on that anybody looked at me or made a comment about my weight or how my clothes fit or whatever, my mind conventionally went and pulled out the schema of you're a fat bastard and then labeled that comment as you're fat. Yeah? Oh, I like your clothes today. They're snug on you, I'm fat. Yeah, I like your clothes today. They look better than the ones that I'm fat. And so my mind grabs that. In cognitive psychology, that's called schema. This is 2,500 years earlier, and it's talking more fundamentally. It's not just schemas of one life that we build associations to stuff. What is it in our very nature that lets this data be labeled clock or this data be labeled thing? Where did the clockness come from? So first of all, you get the data in. It is colors and shapes. This bottle is a Jedra. The image that pops up in your mind of the perfect bottle, the one that you dragged up to label this thing bottle, that's the chi. Because the image you're seeing in your mind is perfect. And what you're seeing can't be perfect. You're assuming there's a back to it. You're seeing a back to it. You're seeing the top of it. You're seeing the bottom of it. But when you're looking at the bottom of it, you can't be sure you're looking at the top of it. But I just saw it. But then to be seeing it here, you have to be seeing it here. Your mind needs to do this whole thing. What you're seeing is impossible. What you're seeing is a tiny projection of your mind from its chi onto a Jedra.
We call it sensation and perception.
Yeah, perfect. Pramana in Sanskrit. So in this way, Chi Jedra explains why things are a perception. Things are dependently arising based on a perception. How does this help you? Stay with me. Okay? I'll give you the two other instances of Chi Jedra, which next to are just a subset of this one. Let me just make sure that I've covered everything so far. So Rikshi, characteristic, it's a type, a kind, etc. So let's use the clock. If you grab all the instances of clock that were ever possible,
That's Jedra.
that's
You're saying the chi for the Rikshi
the chi is the archetype clock. Yeah?
that you
the
have.
one that comes up. So if you all close your eyes for a second, yeah? And I ask you to imagine the Addams Family Morticia, yeah? I don't know that you all have the same image in your minds. but that image is your chi of Morticia. But then I'm going to ask you a little deeper. Is that Morticia a person? What is it about that object that you've just imagined that labels it a person? Why is it a person? And then I'm going to ask, so Morticia becomes a jedra for your chi of person. Does that make sense? And then I'm going to ask you, is that person a being? And then that person becomes a jedra for the chi of being. But you have something that conceptually pops up, and it doesn't have to be visually. Yeah. So if you close your eyes and you hear a sound, what is it about the decibels of a barking dog that brings up your chi of barking dog? That's one instance of barking, of sound, of decibels entering. Your ear cannot differentiate, cannot tell you that was a dog barking. That's impossible. The ears aren't designed to do that. The same for taste, the same for smell, the same for all the sensory input. We have cheese. We have clock. There's clockness about that object, but the clock you are seeing, the one in your mind, the one that is labeling the data that's coming in, that's impossible. Because you see a whole clock. You see a functioning, perfect, 3D working clock. In that respect, what you are seeing is just the chi in your mind, labeled upon one instance a jedra.
So like clockness is essence, is an essence.
You can say that the essence, that's nice, that's a chi. That would be the essence would be a chi. Yeah? But a particular thing that had that essence, that's a jedra. Are you with me so far? Stay with it for a second. The next two, sorry.
Sorry, you're saying that the jedrak comes from one instance?
Jedra is one instance. So let's use car. A chi is car. You look at a Chevrolet, yeah, or a Ford. That's a jedra for car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
So
a car is a jedrak for object.
There you go. Beautiful, beautiful. So you get the.
Yeah.
You can keep doing this.
Yeah. And an object is a jedrak for
Existing thing.
What about time? Would the clock be jedrak and time be chi?
Oh, that's nice.
No,
no.
No.
because time,
Wait.
the clock is not a characteristic of time.
Yeah.
The clock is a measurement.
Yeah.
Measures time. It's not a
Yeah, I mean, that's right. Clock could also be, a sundial, which we might not understand that.
No, but I put a sundial in front of you, and some of you might say clock.
Sure. And some not.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the chi that pops up, I need you to catch your mind saying, here's some data, either it's visual or audio or whatever, and based on that data, very quickly, it happens instinctually. If that person walked in here, you look at them and there, it's a person. Right? What is it about that thing that you call a person? What is informing you? What quality does that have that you're not saying banana? Right? There's all this stuff, and it happens so quickly. It happens from the depths, and so quickly we don't catch it because we need to move to the next thing. We need to talk to the person and say, welcome to the person. Yeah? But the thing that appeared, the thing that you saw, the thing that you labeled, is not that thing. What you are seeing is your mind, a tiny little energetic shift, a kinetic shift in your energy of the original mother of all clocks.
In experimental psychology, the perception takes place about 1/10 of a second
After the stuff comes in. So even from a time point of view, you can't be saying you're seeing that person. They passed already. They're not longer there. Are you with me with those?
Yes.
The next two is Dunchi and Drachi. So Dunchi Okay, who here has been to Times Square? Put up your hand if you have been to Times Square. Yeah? So imagine Times Square. You've just had a dunchi of Times Square. You've had a mental image appear when I say the words Times Square. That mental image is your dunchi. It's something that you've had a direct experience with, and your mind is recollecting that direct experience. Does that make sense? So do you have a dunchi for an apple? Yeah. Do you have a dunchi for barking dog? Do you have a dunchi for crying? Do you have a dunchi for great-great-grandmother? Do you have a dunchi for great-great-great-grandmother? No. So when I say to you, great-great-great-grandmother, what image pops up in your mind, or what shapes come up in your mind? That thing is the drachi. Who's been to the Taj Mahal? Okay, except for you two. Imagine the Taj Mahal. Because they're having dunchis and we're having drachis. Unless, this is just to play, you're having a dunchi about a postcard of the Taj Mahal. Does that make sense? Are you with me?
Yeah.
So you're having a...
But it's secondhand.
It's not a direct experience of, and I'm using visual, I'm using C as my language, but it's for anything. Do you have a dunchi for love? Have you felt love before? And when I say love, that thing that your mind captures onto, that sensation, that thing that it's labeling, that's a dunchi. Yeah? So they're the chis. Do you get the idea of chi, Jedra? A little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
did you give words for Dunchi and Drachi?
It's like
Dun is actual and Dra is word. Yeah? So dunchi, drachi. Why is this important? Let's take a 5-minute break and I will tell you how this chi Jedra, don't lose your focus, will serve you in the path of preparation.
What is the difference between Dunchi and Rikchi?
Dunchi and Rikchi? Rikchi is general and specific. So Rikchi is general and specific.
Yeah, so example.
Yeah.
No, I know.
It was like
This is
the
the key.
quality of something. The quality of something general.
Okay.
Right. And if you need
So,
to
that we're experiencing. I think it's because we're experiencing that.
outside.
Oh, you
Okay. Because when he says like clock or a clock, that's a Rikchi example, right? We're talking about like clock or a clock.
Just to look through them. I
Well,
didn't get to look at all the code.
Yeah.
They look amazing. They look like really good. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through it. 'Cause, yeah, it's kind of confusing. So
Actually, I got two.
yeah, I did too. Okay, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
They give you they also
Yeah, absolutely.
Combination.
Okay, yeah.
so I'm like I'm a student, you know.
Yeah, I like it. I lived in the tropics for
No, I
about
have
3
to
years
buy
in
stuff.
Australia, where it's
All
like
the musicians.
marshy,
Sending
you know,
out
like
the
eating
It's
Yeah.
a nature.
Yeah, I was here for 3 weeks, so.
Oh, okay. No,
And I
no.
lived in Houston.
Yeah.
Crazy weather.
Yeah.
So it's good with heat.
As you, yeah.
So still looking.
Same.
I like trying to,
Yeah.
that's, dry and wet is difficult. So, good, a little bit here and there, my father's getting old. He's okay.
Is he around close to
He's
you?
asking me, his life first.
Really? He wouldn't have struck me as someone who's.
Like that?
Well, no, who's interacted with someone.
Oh, shit.
Like,
Métier is He's an American, it's
yeah.
restaurant business.
No, it's just he's tough. He's gnarly. And so I like that adjustment too. Talking about heat, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm adjusting the kinds of heat.
So how's he doing? He's actually
He's old, and I'm hard ass with him a little bit. But it's also, you know, and
This is part of your expected time.
and it's healthy, good. It's misunderstood and it's unspoken and it's not. It's just stuff like that. So take it in, adjust with it, make adjustments in my life where I should focus on that issue. So I'm here and I'm on that classes coming up.
Very good.
I'm going to Colorado for a week.
Is he here?
I saw there's your resume. So, do you want to take a break?
No. I just need to review how I'm going to do it.
So you shoulder difference.
It's much better. I had a little bit of work from a physio. I got Stephen to do what you taught us, and I've worked it. So now I can do this.
So what did you take from what I said that you had Steve for? How did you approach it?
First of all, the sensation on both sides at the same pressure. So that was good. So he did it from the back.
And what was that like?
That was in my mind. I was imagining that it was a mirror image. So whatever the feeling I had here, I would have here. And if I had any pain resistance, I'd leave it.
Should you actually do it?
I did in front of, just to move the.
You mean like this side, looking at a mirror?
I'm looking at a mirror,
Okay.
and I'm doing both
So
arms.
what I'm going to suggest now is get a cheapo Kmart mirror like this, and have someone come in and hold it, and do separate exercises. In other words, where is it still living here?
Yeah, it's actually there. I know when I do that trace.
Good. So as you work that, taking the taste, that's fine.
Yeah.
But in essence, then take that mirror and you look in the mirror as you do the exercise with that.
So I do the exercise with that.
So in other words, what you're doing is you're looking here as you're doing an exercise. And the mirror is allowing the exercise to happen with his arm. But the visual cortex is over here with his arm.
So I'm looking at the mirror.
Forget the mirror. My arm, I can't lift it.
Yeah.
So I put a mirror there and I watch this arm come on.
He's holding the mirror here.
Yeah.
And I'm doing.
No, you're not working on it.
I'm doing this.
I'm working
I'm
here.
visually forcing. Got it now.
Your eye is re-instructing what's going on to allow you to visually fill up this space.
Yeah.
Talk about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Beautiful.
You're replacing one thing with another.
Yeah.
But we're doing it the other way.
Oh, I love it. It makes
Well,
sense.
that's very close
So you
to
say-
what I wanted to say.
About his arm?
Left arm, right arm.
Oh, what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, does that make sense?
It does. I think so.
The
Let me just.
mirror blocks the injured part of the body
Yeah.
and reflects the healthy part of it. In other words, arm is successfully moving as you're
Yes,
visualizing.
yeah. So I'm looking here. Let me just
The
double check
mirror
that out.
allows your left arm to be your right arm.
So I'm just looking here. This mirror is looking at this arm, and I'm seeing, and I'm exercising this.
So
That my mind, my brain
work
is rewiring is being rewired. My
So here's even better, because instead of you doing it,
someone else.
I'm moving that arm while you're relaxing completely. You be passive.
This is a treating
While
somebody who
you're
wants
working
to
the arm, you can relax and watch it happening in a mirror setup.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so if I'm only seeing my arm here, then I'm only seeing my arm here. I have to set up the mirror so that what I'm doing is I'm seeing it still here. See what I mean? Notice you block. It's got to be the visual thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now, if it's really kind of back here, then that's one thing. But the point is now,
Now it's just here.
right, so find the limit, but don't find it back here. Find the limit here, so you can see it.
Yeah.
Now when I watch it, in other words, you want to recollect this as though it's easier.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. So actually, get
Somebody
more.
scratch your ass, we're not talking about here. In this case, in front.
Oh, that's so good. I'll definitely do that. I think.
That's what I was really talking about last time.
Oh, I see. No, I was doing it in my.
That's fine.
In my.
But now just relax and just be here.
Excellent. That's awesome.
Because you're podcasting something.
Yeah.
Now, the truth is, what can you visualize in meditation, but also for this meditation here? Where am I in terms of grounded beings and rising? So now you're going to ask these questions while you're doing the physio. Doing practice of literally, what is the nature of mind? What am I doing? One, just feel. But two, it's like, so education is what we go through. It's kind of what does it mean? Here, what does it mean? Why am I?
Yeah. Where's
So it's not like you just breathe right and do it. It's like, can you just
deconstruct the conception.
completely?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
The mirror is because you're so visually oriented.
We are. It's all in here.
All these crimes of passion right now are vision to the all these crimes of passion is the sports people.
Oh yes.
It's all.
Let me see.
I may have to run out.
If you can get the others back.
Yeah, I will. Good.
Okay, Amanda, nice to see you. It's so nice. Is this okay? You can step into the hardest class of the time.
I'm a little overwhelmed, but.
Please come. Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever it is, just let it come. Yeah, it's so nice to see you. Yeah. Sorry you didn't come last week.
Yeah, I got sick of it. And we're all the way in Stratford.
Wow.
So it's great. It's hard.
Wow. Nice to have us. How's it been? So circulation. What's it do? It's supposed to push the blood. No code. We've got 1 minute.
Okay, I can say, I think one could say this much more directly. I think that we want to say it somewhat more directly, but not really directly. I could say it really directly. About the 5 chapters, going through the 5 chapters, adding them on, bringing them together. I don't think
We're going to talk about that, but not now. This is Sutra of the teaching. There's another course that comes after this. So we're doing 5 years of slowly building up knowledge.
why do you say that?
It's then people might think that chakras exist independent of their perception. So first we're saying, consider the art of perception. If you get the ground of the world is perception, and you get that practice in there a year or so into it, then when you get to working with the subtle body, you do the chakras.
Of course, the chapters are so.
Yeah, we can get to talk to that. You
Well, the
understand?
various bodies.
Yeah. I think it does. Yeah, it's not stuff. They sometimes do this. So you can actually have to live.
And then so you stay
So it's called this stuff. I don't think it's stuff. Yeah, okay. So we get the others.
So I don't understand why everybody doesn't start with the chapters. You leave it to the new effects. They talk about the first one.
Because people think it's self-existent and then they get attached to the whole system of this chakra. It only helps them if you understand how you create chakras. Only into it as a solid thing, like we would about astrology. Oh, so then they'll start going, you know, it's like, what's my chakra sign today? It'll be stupid like that.
Yeah, the chapter course that they were working
I think, yeah, that. So let's start. Ladies and gentlemen,
last time?
Oh, never.
I'm going to say that I'll go till about 9:45. If you need to go somewhere, you're welcome to go. But I'll do my best. So we stopped at Chi Shedra, where this concept of mental imaging was an important part of the 5 paths. Yeah. So how is it that mental imaging can help us achieve stream entry? Yeah. So one thing I didn't say is when you look at the clock and your mind projects a perfect clock out of all the mothers of all clock that you have in your thing, when you created Morticia, that Morticia you saw, that bottle that you're seeing, yeah? When you understand perceptually what's going on, there is no bottle here that you are seeing. You're seeing a bunch of data, and your mind very quickly is projecting upon that data bottle. And the fact that your bottle is so perfect that you can see all of it at once, top and the bottom and the side, and you can even imagine the back and it's got a roundness to it, is proof that the bottle you're looking at is bullshit. It's just an illusion. You're mistaking the image that appears in your mind for this bottle. You're only ever seeing the luminous brightness of the chi that's appearing in your mind. And this instance, the one that you labeled, isn't what is here. Does that make sense? We mistake that projection for reality. That's the illusion. That's the mistake. Because then we interact with that thing as if it existed out there. So, understanding that... Do you have a pen?
Pen. I don't know.
So understanding that about clockness and bottleness and the clock, a bottle, should let you understand what's this.
I don't know, I can't see it on pen.
Is it pen? What is it?
8 pen.
It's 8 pen. What are you looking at?
Bunch of things.
You can't see it. Pen. Yeah? What your mind captures, what it creates, is this, you see it? Yeah? And when you understand that, every single instance of your reality is that. And that's what it means to be living in an illusion. Now we can get all crazy now and say, oh my God, I'm living in my head, and you get the mind-only school interpreting life as that. It's not that. This is you. Don't get crazy. There are beings out there. There are other. I am not just a projection in your mind, okay? But what you are experiencing of me is only the projection in your mind, and the two go hand in hand, and it's not contradictory, and it's okay. No, you are not alone in the universe. I know why, because I'm talking to you. No, it's not just a bunch of data in your mind being projected onto randomness only. Why? Because a bus kills you if it runs you over. Yeah? So, understanding. You need to understand. I can't possibly give you, and I don't know it in depth, Chi Shedra. Yeah? You need to understand it, along with an understanding of the nature of entities. To do that, you need to have left the home life. Your mind is to be predominantly investigating your reality. There's no time to do both. There's no time to be Madonna or Lady Gaga, sorry, and understand the ultimate, because it takes so much of your energy. You need to have meditation, enough to concentrate your mind, enough focus to be able to catch it when the projections come upon the objects. And it's true for even more subtle things, like anger and jealousy and all the other things. So, why is this important? At the peak, they call it the peak, this Chu Chop, yeah? So the third path is Jor Lam. Yeah? Second path is Jor. jawline, at the peak of the second path. This is how this chi chedra would work, how it would work. You have been already motivating, you've been left the home life a long time ago. Yeah, your mind is no longer concerned with all this stuff. You've been imbuing every action with some kind of kindness, and so you can meditate. And you do. You meditate about an hour a day. It doesn't have to be all at once. It can be in 7-minute intervals, the Sakyas said, and they're great meditators. So long as you can get your mind to this perfect place of concentration, they call it leaving this gross perceptual level and going to a much more subtle understanding of what's going on. When you get there, when you've got enough practice, you can get there. Your mind is doing that. So that's a prerequisite. You've left the home life. Your mind is predominantly interested in finding out how this experience, this magic show, is happening to you for the sake of others, hopefully, as well as yours. And you've been studying intensely this mental imaging process, this chi chedra, the dunchi, the richi, and you're figuring it out. You're studying. So under that influence, you might, Geshe Michael says, this is how he described it, and this is the first time I heard it, it touched something in me that made it a truth, and I hope you can get it too. You might have been spending all this time serving your teacher. You've been studying Chi Chedra and emptiness. You've left the home life a long time. You've been meditating regularly, so you're ready. And you go to make your Lama a cup of tea, and he describes how you place the pot on the kettle on the stove, and you lean back to wait for the stove, and all of a sudden you catch your mind labeling upon the parts of the pot, the shiny surface that looks round, but it's not round because the eye can't see roundness. The curved bottom shape, which seems curved, but it can't be shaped because your eye cannot see curves. You can see shapes and colors, you can't see the other side of it. The blackness at the top. And you see how your mind is projecting upon those collections hot. And you recognize for the first time, this is what they call the highest dharma or chucho, that you created a pot, that it's dependently arising based on your projection, that you've just projected on that collection of parts a thing that you were certain was a pot, that you've always ever called it a pot. You just saw how you created a pot. You withdraw from that. By the way, they call it the highest dharma, supreme dharma, chuchok. Why do you think they would call it chuchok? Highest dharma. Is that the highest dharma? What would the highest dharma be? The highest. The Buddha would have the highest dharma, right? But what would they call this? Supreme dharma. Because it's the highest experience you have as a so-so kewo, as a non-realized being, as a patma. Because within a short time after that, they say about an hour, I don't know. If you've been meditating, you know, you realize what you just saw. You saw the fruit of your karmic imprints, all the virtue you've been building. You enter into a state of meditation, and in that time, you have this thing called chula chu shakpa, which is water poured into water. You have a direct experience of ultimate reality, seeing emptiness directly. In that experience, you leave the form realm. Someone could poke you and you won't feel it. Someone could be cooking something and you won't smell it. Your mind is not connected to your senses. You've been habituating that. And you have a direct experience of emptiness. No words can describe it. People have tried all sorts of things to describe it. But you have a direct experience of water poured into water, which we Westerners have translated as non-duality. And I need to tell you a couple of things that non-duality is not. And non-duality is not you become one with the object. Yeah? You and emptiness are one. You come home to emptiness. This is not what it is. Why? Because you are a positive changing thing and emptiness is a lack of thing. Yeah? What non-duality refers to, there's two explanations. The first one is, I think it's in there, Yin Yang Rupa, the other one is Yang Yin. The awareness of two things disappears. Does that make sense? That's the first one. The awareness of you and object disappears. Are you different to emptiness? Yes. Emptiness different to you? Yes. Are these two distinct different things? Yes. But your awareness of it being separate disappears. And that's true for you cannot hold a thought in that experience. The other part, this Yang Yin means totally equal, and it means that you and it are empty. In so far as the emptiness, you're totally equal. Does that make sense? Just what?
You and it are empty.
Your emptiness and that thing is totally equal. That's all it means. It's just an explanation.
Emptiness is the same as that emptiness.
There is no difference to the quality of that emptiness and emptiness. But you are not forming.
I think there is. Well, maybe. It's not that obvious. To me.
We talked about why all emptinesses are equal insofar as, except for the object they represent.
Well, maybe that missed that last week.
That's okay. So let me get to the essence of here. Do you understand now how Chi Chedra helps you have that peak experience as a Soso Kerwal before your mind moves beyond that peak experience? You've now seen how you create your universe. Then you're propelled into this ultimate experience of emptiness. And in that experience, you can't hold the thought. That could last 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. You have zero awareness of time. You have no awareness of yourself. You can't sit there and go, oh my God, I did it. I saw emptiness. All that study, you can't possibly do any of that. You can't even form a thought that you are you until you descend. You have a sense of ascension as you enter that state. And then you have that experience and you have a sense of descension. You start coming down. When you come down, you have this thing called Jeto Yeshe, which are the subsequent wisdoms. And upon coming down, and I'll only do it quickly, I'll recap next one. You have a couple of realizations as the world begins to assert itself. If you, let's say, saw emptiness in the morning, and you come down from that experience, still sitting in meditation, you have a couple of experiences, and then throughout the day you will have several extraordinary experiences which will confirm to you what you saw, and here's a few. You know your death, you know what death is, you know you are a coarse thing, and you understand really for the first time what death is. You read other people's minds like you hear them. So you might be seeing somebody, or later on that day also you will be either walking around and you can hear people's thoughts as intentions, even though they might be telling you a different thing. And those two, seeing your death and hearing other people's minds, are collected into the first truth of suffering. Yeah? In the 4 Arial truths. You understand what suffering is. You understand death. You see how this thing has to go. You see how everybody has to do it. You actually know it for the first time. Really. And then when you're interacting later on in the day with others, you're hearing their intentions and you see that all their actions are biased towards themselves. That they're trying to get something from you. That they might be lying, or that, and you see that suffering as a suffering. Then you see the causes of your experience, the causes of suffering. You recognize how Shadrach, how you have been projecting and acting against these illusions, that you are in fact the manufacturer of why things don't work. Because you've been operating in a world that doesn't work. You've been operating in a non-real world. You've been creating these illusions. You see this as a realization. You
In a dual world. Yeah.
You've been thinking the clocks are clocks. You've been thinking that time came from you. You then have another one of the causes of suffering experiences you have is you see that you have never done an action ever in your entire psychic existence that wasn't tied up with some kind of selfishness, some benefit for yourself. For the first time you have that as a truth in your heart, and you realize, and this apparently it's a cold and really sad moment to feel about yourself. So those realizations are aligned to the causes of suffering. You have several other realizations relating to the cessation of suffering, which is a third of the Ariel truths, and that is you realize that you saw a Buddha directly, that you've seen the Dharmakaya, the emptiness of the Buddhist mind, and you know your future Buddhahood will come, you're certain by it. You know something to do with your name, you won't be called what you are called. And then you have, if you've been on the Bodhisattva track, you have this experience of your heart opening, and it's like a beacon of light that comes out of your heart, and that's maybe why you have these images of Jesus with heart and other beings of things pouring out of their heart. You have your chakra, your heart open, and you have this propulsion of light coming out, and you see in a few minutes every single face of every living being, animal, creature, anything, appearing all at once and at all time, and you love every single one of them. You understand what a real prostration is, and you get up off that experience, and you do your first real prostration. You drop your face down on the floor with awe for what you were just able to experience, because of what you can do with it also. You understand something different about the images of the tankas, the drawings and the paintings of enlightened beings, and you realize that they are in fact the vision of somebody that had and met the Dharmakaya, the ultimate nature, or the mind of a Buddha. And you feel the same way about the nature of wisdom writings. You have a reverence and an understanding that the content in these things are true, that they function, they are complete, and that in fact every Buddhist writing or wisdom writing is only ever describing that experience and what it can do to a world that is desperate to transform. You see how these things are, so then you might want to protect them more than anyone else, and then you make a first real offering as well. You make a real offering. And this is where the metaphor of the diamond comes in. My understanding is that that metaphor pops into your mind. It searches for that metaphor as the old way of seeing the world begins to reassert itself. You desperately search for a metaphor that will let you hold to what you just experienced. The diamond pops up. You don't care what you do. You're going to go get yourself some offering to the being or beings who have showed you this path, and you go and give them that.
So you really think this happens to everybody who gets enlightened?
No, this does not mean you get enlightened. This means you've just had a realization
Emptiness.
of what illusion means, of emptiness.
Realization of illusion.
Well, you realize that you've been creating this world.
I
You've seen emptiness directly.
see that directly.
The old habit of seeing the world as self-existent begins to reassert itself. And then you enter that path of habituation. Yeah? So that was the second part of the path of seeing. The path of seeing starts with seeing emptiness directly. The second part is all those things I just described. And then you enter the path of habituation, which we'll talk about next class, in which you'll destroy mental afflictions, and that can typically it takes up to 7 to 21 lifetimes or something like that before you remove your mental afflictions. We'll talk about King Kalinga. It's over there as a description of what happens to a bodhisattva, a being who has had a direct experience and understands now how this suffering universe is produced and what they do with that information. So a patpat, a realized being, now begins the first of the 8 bodhisattva bhumis, the 8 grounds or levels of a bodhisattva. Something magnificent happens on the 8th level, where you are now finally free from mental affliction, but between level 1 and level 8 in the path of habituation, which is all it is, you are beginning to deconstruct with what you just saw, this world that you're delivered into back again, is with confidence like never before. That's the last thing in the path of seeing. You know for certain that you are not crazy and this functions, and this, what you saw, is true. So you lose 2 things. You lose the belief in self-existence, that things appear out there separate to your perception, and you lose doubt in what you've been working to understand your world. And with that power, with those realizations, you can undo, deconstruct eons without time of cyclic existence. You can stop them. You are now a patpa. You are a patpa, a realized being. What that means, when we do refuge at the beginning of the things, we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. At that point, you become instantly 2 of the 3 jewels. Obviously, you're not a Buddha, but you are the Dharma. The realization in your mind is the Dharma. You are the Sangha. You are a being who has seen that directly and can teach others. Dharma jewel, thank you, sorry. Dharma jewel. Sangha jewel, thank you. Obviously not the Buddha jewel. Yeah.
So what I have is the path, path of seeing. Part 1, you lose reification.
You get renunciation.
Oh, you get, I thought renunciation was part 1 of illumination or something. No? No, part 1 of the path of seeing.
Oh, I see. Yes, you see emptiness directly.
You see emptiness.
Part 2.
So that's realizing emptiness. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my question.
And part 2 is all those realizations I have. I can share them online for you. So let's leave it there for now. Any questions? Sorry, it was a heavy class.
7 to 21.
How many lifetimes from seeing to knowing?
Up to 7. Yeah, or around 7 is typical. I don't know the exact number. I don't know. Yeah. So let's do. Thank you for listening to a hard class. It was hard for me to share. I didn't cover the second part. I'll do that next week. Actually, next week is July 4th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Next week there's no class.
Next Thursday is July 4th?
Yeah. We don't do class July 4th. So the following week. So if you're not following us on Facebook, follow on Facebook, and we'll have the update there. But no class here next Thursday, class the following Thursday.
So you're going to do
Look
7
at
and
the
8?
3 jewels on Facebook.
No, I'll do 7, 8, and 9.
Look at 3 jewels on Facebook. Is that right?
Can you give the words for Jitab Yasha and Gyuma Tabu?
Jeta Yesha is the ultimate Dharma Supreme. Just confirm that.
I thought that was Chucho.
Say that again.
Well, but you didn't talk about seeing emptiness. How about seeing it? I mean, you're sort of realizing emptiness, but how about seeing, no, it's the existence of emptiness.
Hold on a second.
How
You're
about
wanting
seeing
that?
luminosity
Yeah.
of emptiness?
Knowledge that you get after seeing it.
Subsequent wisdom. Zero.
Subsequent wisdom. Thank you. Jeta Yesha. That's all the stuff that I just covered that happens after the point of seeing.
And what's the human cover?
Hold on. That means illusion. Yeah? Which is what you've been producing with your mental images. I didn't talk about the experience of emptiness. It's just explained as water pouring to water. Because there's no words. Words are conceptual. Any understanding you have of it are conceptual. The experience is non-conceptual.
I completely, you can talk about the lack of emptiness and stuff.
That all of that will take your mind to labeling it something. It's the absence of something. So that's why there's very little actually describing the experience. Yeah. So thank you for maintaining attention as you have. I hope that between now and next time we meet, you have some practice at looking for the Chi Jedra. I'm sorry if I gave you any download that wasn't as perfect as I was able to receive it. So may it grow in your minds and may it become perfect over time.